Good evening, everyone. We're going to go on and get started, please. I'm Dr. Willie Spires, and I'm the Dean of General Studies here at the college. And I'd like to say on behalf of the District Board of Trustees, our President, Dr. Sarah Clemens, faculty, students, and staff, we want to welcome you to Chipola College. Would also like to welcome you to our 6th annual Mental Health Symposium. And I want to say I really mean that from the depth of my heart, because without all of us, this could not happen. So I think this symposium is a product of all of us. And we're not competing, we're simply trying to share knowledge and eradicate the stigma to the degree we can so that we all can live a more fruitful life. So welcome again. Also, I also like to say that we'll have a period of time when refreshments will be available to everyone. But the first person on our agenda tonight is Mr. Matthew Standish, who's our guest speaker, and would like to ask you to come forward at this point in time, please.
Just thank you, Dr. Spires, for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all today. My name is Matt Standish, and I'm really honored to be here. What I'm here to talk about, mental health is such an important issue. The work that I do, I actually do work for the VA in a mental health capacity, but we really, love taking care of our brothers and sisters. But what I'm going to talk more about tonight is more about philosophy. My ways of how I work, how I deal with the public around me, being a combat veteran myself, and the veterans that we work with. But basically I want to talk about kind of how I approach things, how I used to approach things, and I really had a wonderful time. I was Air Force for 26 years. I worked as a weapons loader on fighter jets, and it sounds a lot more dangerous than it really is, because really to blow up a 500-pound bomb, you have to want to. My job was to put them on the planes and send the pilots out to drop them. But to blow one up, it takes a lot of work. You can't really do it by accident. You have to try. So good career field. I had a lot of fun. Worked on a bunch of different planes. I worked on F-4s, F-16s, F-15s. And then after 21 years of doing that, I was able to cross-train to a very special career field that I loved. I had so much fun. I became what's known as a first sergeant. And what I like to say is I crossed over to the dark side of the Air Force. Now, how many people know what a first sergeant is? There's a few people in the back. All right, first sergeants are very special. Air Force, Marines, Army, all have first sergeants, and every unit has one. Now, the first sergeant is only in charge of 4 things: the health, morale, welfare, and discipline of all the troops. So you can imagine the kind of things that we get to encounter. So if somebody's in jail, who do they call? First sergeant. If they're in the emergency room, first sergeant. If they're having a domestic issue, if they're not paying their bills, if they're not wearing their uniform correctly, all of those people issues go to the first sergeant. We deal with all that stuff. It makes for some late nights, some early mornings. I've been to many jail cells, but I loved being a first sergeant. And I think I had such a good time because I developed an operating philosophy that's really not anything new, but I called it preventive discipline. And what that means is get out of the office, go see your troops, go talk to them, go meet them, find out about them, learn about them, make sure they knew who you were. So they know to trust me. They know that I'm going to be there for them, not just when they're in trouble, but when they need help. And it really, I think, saved me a lot of headaches, and I loved it. I did it for 5 years. I had a ball. I worked in 4 different squadrons as a first sergeant. One of those squadrons was over in Iraq in 2005, where I actually had the best time of my entire career, okay? Believe it or not, my trip to Iraq was beautiful. I called it First Sergeant Paradise, because all the stuff you deal with as a first sergeant, Most of it I didn't have to worry about over there, okay? Because first off, none of my people could leave the base, so I had everybody trapped. No alcohol, nice. Believe me, that saved a whole lot of issues right there. No husbands and wives were over there together. Well, that was 90% of my usual issues are gone, okay? So that's beautiful. So I'm having a ball. So every day was trying to find ways to have fun, find ways to make people smile, try to have a good time with them, keep the morale going. You know, kick their backsides if they didn't wear their gear, because they did shoot, the insurgents did shoot rockets at us. But fortunately, they were terrible shots. They couldn't hit anything, you know, luckily. And the end result for me was I brought every one of my people home safe from Iraq. Okay, not a lot of people can say that, but I was very fortunate. But it was a beautiful time. I loved it. Literally the best experience of my life. And the symbol for a first sergeant in the Air Force is the number 1 with a big diamond right in the middle of it. Okay, I loved being a first sergeant so much, I actually had my diamond tattooed on. So I'm a first sergeant forever. So if you want a better look, come visit my table over here. But it was really amazing time. I loved taking care of my troops. After I got back, I retired from the Air Force about a year later. Did a total of 26 years, the last 5 as a first sergeant. Once I left the military, wasn't sure what I was going to do. I worked a few different jobs. I worked in a car dealership, in the service department. I worked for the Red Cross for a while. I sold cars for a while, which I was really better at than I thought I would be, because you would think you would think integrity would be a barrier to being a good car salesman. But I actually sold a lot of cars. I just didn't make a whole lot of money at it. But it was fun, it was interesting. But I didn't have any people that worked for me. I didn't have any people to care for other than my own family, which I took care of them. So a little bit of a void was left in my life. So I had to come up with something new, a new philosophy. What am I going to do now? So I shifted to where what I do, basically, I make it my daily goal to make every person I meet smile, okay, one way or another, whether it's just introducing myself to them or saying hi, whether it's at a convenience store, you know, walking down the road, anywhere, make every person I meet smile. And I usually do it one way, okay, it's really easy. I meet somebody and I say, how are you doing? And they usually say, well, I'm fine, and then they ask, how am I doing? And my response almost every time is, I am having more fun than I should be allowed to have, okay? And the first thing they do is they smile. And what's the second thing they do? Is they ask me, well, what are you doing that's so much fun? You know, why are you smiling and having such a good time? And there's my opportunity to talk to them about an amazing, amazing service of the VA that I work for. See, I work for an office of the VA called a vet center. Most people have no idea that we exist. We're like the best kept secret in the VA. We've actually been around for over 42 years, but it's a beautiful, beautiful service because, see, you know, the VA is made up of the health administration, the benefits administration, as well as the cemetery services. Well, the vet center program has nothing to do with any of that, okay? We are completely separate and independent from all the rest of the VA. And it's beautiful because it gives us some wonderful, wonderful advantages. You see, we're a counseling service. Our primary focus is post-traumatic stress, whether that came from combat service, from sexual trauma, from dealing with casualties, even deploying to like natural disaster sites like a lot of our National Guard troops do. Coast Guard who've been out in the waters doing drug interdictions, pulling bodies out of the water, things like that. So post-traumatic stress, that's our focus. We do a lot of other stuff as well, but PTSD is our #1 priority. But the beautiful part about the vet center is, first off, our veterans that come to us don't have to be in the VA system, all right? Nice. They can be, but they don't have to be, which means they can also have other than honorable discharges, and they can still come see us at the vet center. And so beautiful, giving them a place to go. But we also get to see National Guard troops, reservists, even active duty members, and we are the only office in the VA that regularly provides counseling to families. And that's any family member, even boyfriends, girlfriends, or whoever. That's because post-traumatic stress destroys families. So what we do at vet centers, and we are nationwide, we have 300 of these all across the country, and we're beginning to grow. Congress is finally allowing us to have more vet centers in other locations, is we provide a safe place where that veteran or that troop can just walk in the front door. They get connected to a licensed professional counselor who was also probably a veteran themselves, but most importantly, and this is our founding principle, you see, this program is over 42 years old and was started by Vietnam veterans back in the 70s. And you know, when our Vietnam vets came home, they were treated so bad that they didn't want to talk to anybody except other veterans, and they hated the VA. They didn't want anything to do with the VA. So they created the Vet Center program to provide that one last safe place where if they go there, nobody will ever know that they were there, not even the VA. And that's the way we are still today. Anybody who goes to the Vet Center, extreme confidentiality. So it's like that one last safe place where that veteran or that active duty member, or even their family member or whatever, nothing to worry about. Nobody's going to find out. Now, we don't do medications, and we don't actually diagnose, although we can recommend diagnoses. But we're just there to give them that safe place where there's nothing to worry about. We do a lot of alternative therapies as well. One of the things we're using is the Hope Project in the back, equine therapy. Okay, great stuff. We have a group that's going out there Monday. We also do couples. We do individuals. We do couples. So marriage counseling. We'll work with kids, parents. Doesn't matter. Just giving them that place, because a lot of families really don't understand what their military members going through. So the big reason for seeing families is giving them that chance to find out. One of the funnest things I get to do is when I'm out, because I'm an outreach specialist. My job is beautiful because I get paid by the VA to run around 11 counties and do nothing but talk. It's perfect. I have way more fun, like I said, way more fun than I should be allowed to have. So one of the funnest experiences I get is when a spouse comes up to my table. And, you know, and I talk to everybody, I don't care who they are. But she'll let me know that she's a spouse. And the first thing I usually do is I thank them for their service, because our military families serve almost as much as our military members do, okay? Whether it's the months without their military member, dealing with the unique circumstances of being on a military base, dealing with the Army or Air Force. But I tell them about what we do, and I couldn't even begin to count how many times that spouse has said to me, I really wish I could get my husband to come in and see you. And it happens more times than I can even count. And so what I tell her is say, well, tell you what, come on into our office, we'll sit you down with a counselor. That counselor will talk to you and help you devise some strategies on how to get your military member in for counseling as well. And one of the beautiful experiences I had, I was set up at it was like a Christmas bazaar or something. And there were these ladies, and I was talking to them, and there was one kind of standing off to the side. And then as I was finishing up, she walks up, and she kind of goes, these people saved my marriage. And then she told me how she had done exactly that. She had come in, sat with a counselor, worked up some strategies, got her husband to come in, and they were doing marriage counseling, working together on things. And then even better, it was like a couple weeks later, I was giving a presentation to a bunch of veterans. And I was telling them about, you know, what we do, you know, we see spouses, things like that. And this one veteran stands up and said, yep, that's what my wife did. She went in there, got me to come in. And it was actually that same woman's husband. So I love those connections, you know, love seeing things, you know, the beautiful things that we get to do at the Vet Center. You know, because we got to take care of each other. You know, whether you're a veteran, a family member, or know a veteran, or, you know, PTSD is not just a military thing. It gets emphasized a lot, but anybody can get PTSD from whatever kind of trauma they might experience. But we have to take care of each other. There are so many more resources than people are aware of. Whether it's things like the Vet Center for Veterans, you have Journey Pure, you got Emerald Coast Behavioral, there are counselors all over the place. But people just they say they don't know where they are, they can't find them. What you can do is be that person who knows where those resources are. Help them find those resources. One of our services that we provide, other than our counseling, and it's primarily my role, is referral services. I've been doing this for 10 years, so I know where almost everything is. You know, if they come to me and they need help with this, that, or the other thing, I can give them some, hey, let's look this up, go over here, go over there. You need disability equipment. Oh, there's a place downtown. You need to call them, look up their number, and get them hooked up, whether they need housing, food. You know, it's just an amazing time. Like I said, I am so satisfied and I have so much fun. Just the lives that I get to touch, and the work that I get to do is just something amazing. So the big favor I want to ask from all of you is please stop by my table, pick up a brochure. If you know anybody that you think could use our help, whether you think they're eligible or not, we do have eligibility standards, but you don't worry about that. Get them in our front door and we'll take care of it from there. Because even if we can't make them eligible, we'll find a way to do what we can. We'll do everything we can for them. So help us spread the word. Our vet center actually covers 11 counties, okay, 6 Florida and 5 Alabama. And one of my counselors comes here to Mariana almost every week on Thursdays and does a group session with veterans up here. So the resources are there. Help us spread the word and let people know that we're there. And if you've never been to it, we're not the only resource that's out there. Okay, have you heard of myfloridamyfamily.com? Come on, I know somebody has to have. This is an amazing website. Okay, you go there, you click a button that says I need help. It comes up and it asks for what kind of help you're looking for, and you put in your zip code, and then it spits out a list of resources. Okay, myfloridamyfamily.com. It's an amazing thing. It has nothing to do with the VA. I just have it on my phone permanently, so if somebody asks me, because I can't remember all the resources that are out there, so I got to have a way to look them up. But, we need to try. Keep that on your phone and be ready for it. The last thing I want to ask you to do is try to make a difference, okay? Each person you meet each day, find a way to make them smile. Smiles are probably the cheapest and easiest way to make our world a little bit better. Every person we make smile is just going to make our world, it makes it a little nicer for all of us. So have fun, be that smiler, that influence. Oh, I don't like the word inspirer, okay? I really don't like the word influencer. That just sounds like you're making somebody do something they don't want to do. Be an inspirer, inspire people to do good things and press on from that. All right? Well, thank you so much. I didn't go too long, did I? No, you're fine. All right, cool. Y'all have a wonderful time. Be sure and stop by and visit all the tables in the room. And there's a lot of great information for you. Thank you very much.
It's just my pleasure to present to you a token of our appreciation for you being a guest speaker. We'd like to present this award to you, Chipola College's Social and Behavioral Sciences Department. Present to Mr. Matthew Standish of Bay County Vet Center in appreciation for your willingness to serve as mental health symposium speaker. Thank you very much. Okay, let me shake hands. I'll bounce to the other one. Okay.
No worries.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Sure, you're welcome. Okay. All righty. Okay. What I'd like to do now is to have each agency come up and present a brief synopsis of what services you provide, and it doesn't matter who comes first. It's whoever would like to volunteer first. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Allison Hausner, and we're from the Mobile Response Team.
I'm Eva Brown.
We are We've been around about 5 years now. I was going to say we're fairly new, but we're newish. We are a multidisciplinary team that deals specifically with people who are in crisis. We do suicide and homicide assessments, as well as take care of any crisis that stops somebody from performing the average tasks in daily life.
Nothing's too small. We work with people who are experiencing grief and loss of an animal, loss of a job, marriage, whatever that situation is. We're in the hospitals, we're in the homes, we're in the schools, we're on the street corners, we're everywhere. Anywhere we're called, we can come help that person. We explain, of course, we get consent from working with that people, but then we talk to the person, find out if we can help them deal with some issues they're having for that crisis.
Yep, we're completely free service, and we're 24/7. So even if you call at 2 in the morning, you will get somebody who can help you. And
now, I'm sorry. Yeah. So again, I'm Eva Brown. I serve the areas of Jackson and Calhoun County. So if you need me, I'm at Life Management Center. This is a program free through Life Management Center. Our extension is 1833. We have information over there. Please come by and get some things if you like.
Yep. And we're in all 6 counties, but there's also an MRT in every single county in Florida. So if you have someone in another county, we can usually get them to the MRT they need.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Rusty Holmes. I and Denise Brock over in the corner. We work at the Panhandle Area Educational Consortium. We work for projects that work directly out of the Department of Education that support the school districts in the areas of special education, and specifically SEDDAT, which supports the school districts in the area of emotional and behavioral disabilities. So the other project that we have that both of us work for is Fiddlers. That's FDLRS. It's easier for folks to remember Fiddlers than to try and give you the long name for it. And what we do is try and identify kids before they go into school that need extra help, so that whenever they hit kindergarten, they can be caught up with their same age peers, and that way they don't fall behind in our K-12 system. And so that's just one of the things that Fiddlers does. We also do training for teachers. We also do training for parents, and we provide help with assistive technology for students that need that extra assistive technology to be successful in the classroom and all. Those are the programs that we work with. We cover all the way from Walton County over to Franklin County, but we're part of statewide networks that cover each and every school system in the state. We're giving away a fidget kit. One of the trainings that we do for teachers is how to develop create a calming area in their classrooms. And one of the things we give them whenever they take our training for that is a little fidget kit to help them develop that, because many of our kids will come in and they don't have the emotional or behavioral control to be able to fit into the classroom environment. And whenever that happens, they have an emotional overload, they melt down, and our job and the job of the calming area is to get them to self-regulate, get themselves under control, and then back into the flow of the classroom without sending them to the office or taking them out of that environment. So hopefully they're back in the swing of things much, much quicker and all. So if you come and sign up over there, we're going to draw for one tonight, and you can develop your own calming area, or you can use the stuff for yourself and calm yourself down. whichever you like to do. All right? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barbara. I am with Florida Therapy Services, and we are located here in Marietta. We provide behavioral health services, including psychiatric services, individual and family therapy, case management services, psychosocial rehabilitation services, community outreach, and group therapy. We provide in-office, community, and mental health services within all of our schools. Florida Therapy accepts most insurances, including Medicare, Medicaid, and commercial insurances. We maintain full-service clinics in Marietta, Panama City, Tallahassee, Apalachicola, and Pensacola. And we also provide services to the surrounding 16 counties in this area. Since our inception, Florida Therapy's mission has been to offer mental health services to adults, adolescents, and children across North Florida. And we're happy to be here tonight, and thank you, Dr. Spires, for inviting us here. Good, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Allen. I'm the clinical director at Journey Pure.
And I'm Yvonne, the business development rep.
And Journey Pure is located out on the beach. I did not know about it when I live up here, and I took the position, and I was like, we really need to outreach so that more people know about us. We provide inpatient and outpatient substance abuse treatment. We have our ways of developing appropriate level of care for people. So we have our detox, residential services, partial hospital program, things like that. We work with the VA. We work with other agencies in the community, and we try to provide continuity of care for aftercare planning.
And I just wanted to come up here and invite you all to our open house. We're going to be not celebrating, but honoring Mental Health Awareness Month this month. And so we're having an open house. We're going to have light refreshments. It's a great opportunity for you to tour the facility. I know some people don't want to refer a client unless they've seen it. It'd be a good opportunity for you to do that, meet our staff, and ask any questions. So we have some flyers at our table. We're also doing a raffle for a really cool water bottle. So if you want to come by and leave your business card, or if you have any questions, we'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Colbreth. I am with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. I am the outreach coordinator. It's a brand new position. I've been here for about 2 months, and I would tell you what I do, but it's still kind of in the making. But my goal is to help people with substance abuse issues or mental health issues connect to the resources that they need. I'm still in the process of finding all of these resources. So I'm glad to be here so I can gather up all of the ones that I can. And also, I'm a big part of Celebrate Recovery, which is a 12-step recovery program that is for any hurt, habit, or hang-up. It actually happens right now in about 20 minutes every Friday night at Evangel Church. So that's pretty much what I do. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Long. I'm coming to you via SWAT through the schools, representing the health department, Jackson County Health Department. SWAT is a school organization for middle school students and high school students. It actually stands for Students Working Against Tobacco. So we partner with a lot of different agencies, such as Tobacco Free Florida Partnership, the American Cancer Society. We put on various activities through the year to recognize, through with Chew Week, Kick Butts, the Great American Smokeout, Red Ribbon Week. And the way it connects to mental health is because, I'll read this to you, 1 in 4 adults experience behavioral health issues living with mental illness and or substance use disorders. Those with behavioral health conditions smoke at rates 2 to 3 times higher than the general population. Adult smokers with behavioral health conditions are more likely to have started smoking at earlier ages, smoke more cigarettes, contract tobacco-related diseases. So at the table next to the door, we have some information for you, and one is a card you can pick up where it talks about ways that you can quit smoking. It has a website for you to use if you want to quit smoking. There is a phone call that you can make if you're interested in quitting, and also you can, let's see, one more way, website, you can sign up for free cessation materials, such as the patches and so forth. If you're really interested in smoking, they give those away free. So if you have any questions, want some information, visit the table where Miss Karen Edwards is sitting right now and Brianna Dallas. Thank you all.
Hello, everyone. I'm Trish Brannon. I'm here representing the Panhandle Area Health Network. We've actually been in this area for about 30 years. I've worked with Karen off and on for years. We do several different things, but the one that I want to share with you all tonight is our prescription assistance program, where we help people that can't afford their medications to receive their medications at no cost. It's a free service to our community. We are grant funded by the Florida Department of Health, and we work with healthcare providers and patients and different pharmaceutical companies to make sure that people are receiving their life-saving or sustaining medication at no cost if they're eligible. So if you know anyone that has that need, please come see me and get some information for them, because we want everyone to be healthy and to not have to choose between things like paying for their medicine or paying for their groceries, which is a tragedy that we have people that face that in this day and time. But it's out there and we can make a difference. So thank you very much. Have a great night.
How you doing?
I'm blessed. How are you, sir?
Good. Same here. Same here.
Your hair's looking good.
Oh, I tell you, mine's too.
Yeah, cool. I was trying to go last, that way I could just take up the rest of the time, but, we won't do that. I'm David Trogdon, and I'm the director of the Hope Project. And already Matt has mentioned us, and we're great friends, and we have a contest to see who can go to the most places. And we do equine therapy. Now, I was in the Army 25 years active duty and jumped out of Air Force planes, and I was enlisted 9 years, and I was a chaplain 16 years, spent 3 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, and like everyone at my table, we have Tina and Kevin and Dave, all of us are vets with PTSD. So I know what it's like to have PTSD, and I know what it's like to battle suicide and a lot of the things that come along with it. Well, I'm God's sense of humor because when I was medically retired out of the Army after 25 years, I moved to Florida to start a program for veterans and first responders and their families that has now grown into working with addictions. I did my doctoral studies in addiction counseling for soldiers, trafficking victims, abuse victims, kids with special needs. And last month we were able to reach 502. So we stay very busy. We work with a lot of the agencies here, referring back and forth. And I'm God's sense of humor because I didn't know anything about horses. How many of you know something about horses? How many of you know nothing about horses? Okay, that was me. I didn't know equine meant horse. And you talk about hippotherapy, and I'm like, what are you going to do with a hippo? You know? And I was blessed, though. I surrounded myself with horse people, and they still, to this day, make all horse decisions. What I did learn was horses are totally amazing. They read your facial expressions, which would be scary right now. They read your body language. They know your emotions because they're so emotional. And every part of a horse's body is as sensitive as your fingertip. And they can hear your heartbeat 4 feet away. So you can fool a chaplain, you can fool a therapist, a counselor, you can fool yourself, but you will never fool a horse. I call them equine lie detectors. And the way it works, and by the way, we don't charge anything. None of us take a penny. We're all volunteers, including myself. We don't turn anyone away. And you can look at the pictures back there. But the way it works is myself, and the scary part is I'm the mental health professional. That's scary. And Tina is my equine specialist, which means she's a horse person. We will give you a task to do, or a family or a group, a task to do involving the horses. And horses will react to you. In fact, I was just talking with Florida Therapy, and a week or so ago, a group of them came out, and we gave them a demonstration of equine therapy. And what they had to do was build a bridge across a river. Not a real river, but they had to build a bridge across the river, and they had to get the horse to cross the river with them. And it was quite entertaining, you know. But the horses will interact, and then it could be taking the horses through an obstacle course or mostly on the ground. We do have the opportunity for people to ride if they want, but most of the therapy is on the ground. And then we process afterwards with the interaction of the horses, and it's totally amazing. People end up kind of coming up with their own metaphor or parable about what's going on in their lives using what the horses do. The horses can represent someone or something that's happened. And we specialize with PTSD, suicide prevention, trauma. As a chaplain, I also, if someone is interested or faith is important, we include that. And we believe totally in a multidisciplinary approach. I do have PTSD. I take my crazy pills, and that's what us vets often call them. I have a therapist at the VA, but the crazy pills can't fix me. They can help make things a little bit easier. My therapist at the VA, I don't look for her to fix me because she can't. She can help, but we need one another. And so not only do we provide equine therapy, but we're also a community of veterans and others. As a chaplain, I was trained with every suicide prevention modality that the Army could think of, because I don't know about the Air Force, but anytime there was an issue, they come up with a program and you train and everything. But let me tell you something, the best preventative for suicide, the best suicide prevention is positive relationships. Positive relationships. And it's the same with PTSD and especially veterans. We need that community. So we're a community, and we also provide therapy. And so please come by our booth, and we're going to do a raffle for a year's supply of fertilizer. Some people call that horse manure, but we have 14 fertilizer factories. So come by, come out to the Hope Project, you know, bring your family. Everything's free. If you don't like it, you get your money back. All right?
Thank you. Okay, if I can have your attention, I'd like to resume now, and there'll be a little time left at the end if you'd like to visit the different agencies we have time to do that. I'd like to recognize Troy University and want to ask them to come up and give a little bit of a summary of what your role is in this mental health field. Okay. You're welcome.
Good evening. My name is Erica Hinson. I'm a representative of Troy University. I'm also a veteran. So I want to talk about our clinical mental health counseling programs. So we want to create more counselors to help more people. I've said that to pretty much everyone who stopped by our table. Please feel free to do that. Our certificates include military populations, school counseling, rehabilitation, infant and early childhood, and clinical mental health. So we also offer social work online, rehabilitation grants at certain locations. So please stop by our table, find out more, and spread the information with others. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to have our students present, and the first individual we're going to ask to present is Junior Brown, who is an engineering major, but he's going to present on attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Okay?
Hello, I'm a student here over at Chipola. This is my first year, and I'll be presenting on ADHD. Where's the remote for? Oh, that's it? Mm-hmm. Sorry about that, having a little technical difficulty here.
One over there.
Okay. So ADHD comes in a bunch of different colors, flavors, types. Tends to be separated into inattentive, hyperactive, and impulsive. Hyperactive, impulsive tend to be linked together. They're pretty similar. The symptoms for inattentive is, as it implies, hard to pay attention. You forget things sometimes. You have trouble finishing tasks. It's just really hard to focus in sometimes. It could get a little blurry in your head. And whenever it comes to hyperactivity and impulsivity, also pretty much implied there. You just can't stop moving. You're fidgeting all the time. Whenever you need to sit down, it's hard to just stay there and stay not moving. And with impulsivity, you make decisions just on the fly, out of nowhere. And for the next slide, we have the background of ADHD. So, whenever it comes to mental disorders altogether, a big reference would be the DSM. The DSM has a whole ton of mental disorders in it. It's a book that's progressed over time, over the decades. And whenever it comes to ADHD, before DSM really put it in there, it was just really ever looked at as potential brain damage. It wasn't really on people's radars in the early 1900s, but I believe 1968, in the second DSM, they came up with a name for it. I think it's hyperkinetic childhood reaction. So a little bit of a mouthful. In 1980, though, they went ahead, changed it up to ADD. That's a bit of an outdated term, but a lot of people still use it. It's attention deficit disorder, which with that they pretty much just thought hyperactivity was an add-on that came in every once in a while, but it was mainly the inattentive side of ADHD. Later on, they went ahead in 1987, revised the DSM-3, and it became ADHD, which is pretty much an umbrella term for all of those symptoms that come up, hyperactivity included. And whenever it comes to the prevalence, it's gone up a lot. Over the decades, it seems to be mostly because of awareness whenever it comes to ADHD. ADHD has kind of gone under the radar over the years, a few decades ago or so. But this is a little little chart for children around ages 3 to 17. Currently, it's saying that it's around 10% prevalency around that age. And later on in life, as they become adults, around 1/3 or so of these individuals end up carrying their diagnoses into adulthood. As children, the difference between genders, male and female, is about 6% for female and 14% for male. So a huge difference. This could be because of overdiagnosis in males due to the way that they end up, just the way males are whenever they're children. They tend to be a certain way. And it could also be because of genetic factors. Those are two schools of thoughts. It could be a combination of them. And whenever they become adults, the prevalence gap between males and females actually gets smaller. It's over 200% when it's 3 to 17-year-olds. But whenever you go over to adults, it ends up being about 150% more males than females, which is definitely a significant change. And for the next slide, we have the negative effects associated with ADHD. Now, the first one I'm going to bring up is relationships. Mainly whenever it comes to plans, if you have an inattentive type of ADHD, you're going to forget plans a lot. That could put an extreme strain on relationships. It could create some serious problems. And with impulsivity, you're just making plans on the fly sometimes, which again, that can end up being a serious issue. Now, whenever it comes to the physical health, main thing that comes to mind would be substance abuse. Whenever you have ADHD, you are at a greater risk of substance abuse, especially with drugs similar to, let's say, cocaine, which is in some ways similar to the medication that's used for ADHD, but obviously way different, not a good thing to have cocaine. And it does end up being a problem. Now, whenever it comes to mental health, if ADHD isn't diagnosed at a younger age, it can become a serious issue, especially with self-esteem. If there's a kid that's going around thinking, this is just me, no matter how hard I try, I'm just not as functional as all the other kids, that could end up being a serious issue. It can go on to affect them in adulthood in major ways. And I think that could be emphasized with education and how the dropout rates whenever it comes to ADHD ends up being higher among younger individuals. And for the next slide, we have general ADHD testing and diagnosis. Whenever it comes to ADHD, there's a ton of questionnaires out there, there's a ton of cognitive tests, but they're mainly just supplements for an actual professional looking into the background and deciding due to the severity, how often your symptoms occur, and how all of that plays out. That's absolutely the best way to find out if you have ADHD. I don't think a questionnaire is going to quite cover it. It never has the depth that an actual professional can have with that. Now, causes of ADHD, real quick, it's just super complicated. People still don't quite understand it to a complete degree. And it's generally linked with lower levels of dopamine and other neurotransmitters, which is why some medication end up raising those levels or preventing the decay of the neurotransmitters in the system. And whenever it comes to it occurring, generally it's a genetic thing. If you're relatives end up having ADHD or some other disorder like, let's see, depression, you're at a higher likelihood of having ADHD. And environmental factors do play a role. I think it's to a much lesser degree. For example, if you're an impoverished individual, you have a slightly higher degree of having ADHD, but I guess that could also be contributed to the way they act and a potential misdiagnosis because they act a certain way because they were raised to act that way. And here's a video for ADHD. It's just a quick 2-minute one. If it doesn't work, we could just go on to the next slide. It's no big deal. It's all good. Okay, so whenever it comes to ADHD, there's generally 2 different types or 2 big groups of medication. The first one would be stimulants. They tend to be a lot more effective, around 80% of individuals or so has effects on. But it also tends to come with more side effects like loss of appetite, headache, and they tend to be slightly more or significantly more severe. Stimulants tend to have a bad reputation. They do help ADHD, and I think it's a case-by-case, person-by-person decision for who takes stimulants. It can be useful, and it is known for being abused occasionally, but I think as long as you have a proper medical professional taking care of that, everything should go well as long as you're not misusing the substance. And for non-stimulants, they come in a few different categories. You could have antidepressant non-stimulants, blood pressure non-stimulants, and non-stimulants that are specifically made for ADHD. They tend to be less effective, super roughly, around 40 to 60% effective with individuals. And their symptoms are generally less not good. And let's see. Non-stimulants also tend, depending on which type, come with different kinds of side effects such as mood swings and other side effects affecting mood. And here's a list that you probably can't see too well on stimulant examples. It goes ahead and lists quite a few stimulants, the dosage that's normally taken with them, and their effective time. Stimulants can also come long-lasting stimulants that last throughout the day, maybe 12 hours or so, and stimulants that just last about 4 to 6 hours. You take multiple times a day to be able to clear up the mind and focus, or stop extreme hyperactivity. And I think that'll be it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Junior. Okay. Next, I'd like to call Shannon Carpenter up, and want to take just a brief moment to brag a little bit here and to congratulate. Shannon is a former student of mine, and she will be receiving her bachelor's degree in psychology after this semester. Is that right? Yep. Okay. Yes. Okay. Congratulations, Shannon. Okay. And another individual, Allison, will you stand up, please? Allison just passed she's a former student as well, and she just passed her state licensure exam. So congratulations to you as well, okay? Okay, yeah.
So you'll have to excuse these slides. These were made when the Mental Health Symposium was actually getting to go. So I know a little bit more about depression and how to research it now other than what's on the slides. So you can go ahead. All right, depression is known as a mental state of altered mood by feelings of sadness, despair, or others.
Symptoms and signs of depression include feeling sad or hopeless, loss of interest in hobbies, decreased energy, difficulty staying focused, sleeplessness, waking up early, oversleeping with no desire to get up, no appetite, weight loss, or weight gain, thoughts of hurting yourself, easily annoyed, angered, or bothered. 3 different types of depression are known as major depression, also known as clinical depression. This type of depression makes it difficult to carry out daily tasks as most depressions do, such as studying, working, eating, sleeping, etc. It can occur once or multiple times in a person's life. 6.7% of the U.S. population that is affected over the age of 18. Women are more affected than men. Psychotic depression. This occurs when a severe depressive illness includes a form of psychosis. The psychosis can include hallucinations such as hearing a voice telling you that you are no good, usually treated by medical experts dispersing medications such as antidepressants and antipsychotic medications. Situational depression, also known as adjustment disorder, occurs when a person has difficulty coping with or adjusting to a major life change. A person who has this type of depression develops emotional or behavioral symptoms as reaction to a stressful event. So depression and the brain. So depression is more of a biochemistry problem. It can also be an environmental problem as well as like situational depression. The biochemistry, the neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin, are decreased in a depressed brain as well as a smaller hippocampus. This can also decrease the gray matter in the brain. And here is an MRI or an fMRI of a depressed versus a non-depressed brain. So the colors, the brighter colors show more neural transmitters versus the lower colors. Thanks. And then we have 2 videos if they'll work. It's okay. It's okay, we can go on. Yeah. So treatments for depression usually include talk therapy, medications, usually antidepressants or SSRIs as they're known. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps you become more aware of the negative thinking that you can view challenging. Shock therapy is no longer used except for in severe cases. And usually that's kind of iffy. Antidepressants may take weeks to work and may cause elevated moods. This can also cause patients to come off of their medications as they do not see any improvement in their depression or anything like that. It's the same as like schizophrenia and PTSD or ADHD or anything like that. If they do not see an improvement, they will eventually come off the medication, and it's causing a cycle of going to therapy, getting medication, and getting off of it all over again. So their medications don't stay in their body. Medications include Lexapro, Zoloft, Paxil, Prozac, or anything else. So one thing I found cool was color associated with depression. Usually when people have depression, they associate themselves with a color or object. This is kind of like a comforting situation. So someone may have a stuffed animal that they absolutely love and that comforts them and it gives them peace. As for colors, speaking from a personal preference, my color used to be black and blue. I thought of blue as like the sky, and I absolutely still love the color blue. It's my favorite color. But I would kind of transparent those colors with, okay, I love the sky and that's a happy feeling, and black with, okay, this is my down feeling. So it's more of a metaphor on feelings and how people can associate that. The colors usually range from light gray to black or dark colors. They are considered metaphor for moods. Suicide. So depression can lead to suicidal thoughts or actions. Considered a possible complication of depressive illness is a combination of other risk factors. Suicidal thoughts and behaviors can be a symptom of moderate to severe depression. And that is it.
Thank you very much, Shannon, for doing that. Next individual is Ms. Linda Morales. Okay. And she's going to be presenting next. And I must say that I guess I have sort of some, that's some oxymoron that I can think of is I have a bittersweet kind of experience when I talk about her. Linda will be completing her master's degree in mental health counseling next semester. Is that right? And the bittersweet part is the fact that I'm happy for her achievements, but I'm kind of a little bit bitter the fact that she may leave me, okay? But anyway, Ms. Morales, you can come forward, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your participation. One thing that I would like for you all to do for me before you all leave, please, is complete those surveys so that we can improve the program. Without you all, this event would not be possible. So today I'm going to talk to you about using neuroscience to curb generalized anxiety disorder. How many of you have anxiety? Raise your hand. Come on. How do y'all think anxiety comes to us? Why do you think anxiety is so prevalent? Anybody?
The stresses that we encounter in society.
Right. So society is moving so fast now, right? We call it globalization. Moving so fast, we can't keep up with it. We pressure ourselves. We give this, oh my gosh, I've got to get this done. How many of you wake up in the morning and go, I've got this to do? Ah, yes, you see, everybody does that. Okay, so with neuroscience, they've come up with some pretty innovative new ideas on how to curb this anxiety. Let's see if it works. Let me see if I can get one of my student workers to go over there and help me with the. Thank you. So the first slide is basically going to explain what generalized anxiety disorder is based on the DSM-5. It's categorized as F41.1. It's excessive worry. And of course, I'm not going to go through all that because we're going to go through it slide by slide. Okay. So go ahead. Okay. So DSM-5, okay, that's our diagnosis manual for mental health. And so it's occurring more than or at least 6 months at a time. Okay. Symptoms of anxiety and the physical signs. How many of you have ever felt those heart palpitations? You know, you're sitting there and all of a sudden you feel sweating, the physical sign of it, right? You know, you start feeling worrying and you start with the overthinking, you become restless. So these are all things that we encounter when we have anxiety. But did you know that our brain actually has 2 parts? Research has shown that neuroscience research has revealed that there's 2 pathways. We've got the cerebral cortex and your amygdala that actually have that brain action that causes our anxiety. So the cerebral cortex is our perception and thought, okay? The amygdala triggers fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a situation. You have a pit bull coming at you, okay? How many of you are gonna flee? Raise your hand. How many of you are gonna flee? Okay. How many of you are gonna fight? Okay. How many of you are gonna freeze? And how many of you are gonna say, forget this, come here, puppy? Yeah, right? How many of us are gonna go like that? Come here, puppy. So I wouldn't be one of those. I'd be the one running. So everybody has a different reaction to anxiety and how we react to it in our bodies, okay? So in psychotherapy, attention is directed to the cognition. However, neuroscience now, go back, has said that the amygdala also should be considered, because if we know what we're going to do, then we should know how to kind of backtrack, okay? So in this picture here, we have our prefrontal cortex, right? It just goes back here to the back where it triggers our thalamus, which says, you know what, it's time for you to run. Our visual cortex, all that information goes back there, gets our hippocampus all going, transmits that information to our amygdala that says, okay, physiological, we're gonna start sweating, or we're gonna run, we're gonna stay, we're gonna say, here puppy, whatever we're gonna do, right? So that's the way it works. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, so our cerebral cortex, what does that do? Okay, it's sight or sound. Imagery-based anxiety, it's our right hemisphere of our brain that's reacting, okay? Sound, when we hear something, right? We hear that dog barking, right? All of a sudden we're gonna go, oh my God, it's coming. And your left hemisphere is either gonna make you freeze or flee, okay? But sometimes we have situations when we create that anxiety ourselves. It doesn't necessarily have to be environmentally based, right? How many of you have applied to college lately and are waiting for letters to come back and say, you're accepted? So the first thing we do when we see that envelope, we're like, oh my God, here it is. Am I accepted or not? The anxiety starts, right? So we constantly create that ourselves. It's internal. So with that, it's called the specific external sensation producer rigid belief, thoughts, and emotions reflect an ultimate reality called cognition fusion, okay? We create that ourselves. Isn't that amazing? Okay. So here's an example. You're walking down the street, you're walking your dog, and all of a sudden you hear the fire engine going on. It turns on your street. What's the first thing you start thinking? Oh my God, did I leave the oven on? Did I turn off that curling iron? Oh my God, did I do that? So your house is on fire automatically, right? It may not be, but we automatically assume. So you start running, and there's the anxiety, right? The emotion. We have that interpretation of the event and your emotion. So that's where you get that cerebral cortex trigger, okay? Okay, so now we have the amygdala. What does that do? We have positive emotional memories, and we have negative emotional memories. You know, the positive memories of when your baby's born, you know, the first day that you see that child walk. Positive memories. We keep that there in the amygdala. We also keep trauma there. So if you've ever been in a traumatic situation, right, that memory is going to be stored there. So where does the fight, flight, and freeze come from? You're in danger. The amygdala triggers that brainstem and hippocampus. And all that, you know, hypothalamus and that nucleus accumbens. Then the amygdala activates motor movements, right? We automatically need to run. You see that dog? We're going to run. How many of you ran when you saw Loki? And how many of you went over there, puppy, puppy? Yeah? Right? Okay. Okay, so the amygdala activates motor systems, but it brings you adrenaline and cortisol, okay? It provides that chemical that makes us go. Okay, so we have trigger freeze or that panic attack. How many of you have ever had a panic attack? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isn't that an awful feeling? Yeah, right. You kind of go, what do I do then? So we're going to show you what to do. Next one. Okay, so with the amygdala, we have the association of a traumatic instance. And then we associate it, right? So in that case, it could be a smell, it could be environmental, it could be the siren from the fire engine, right? Because you're thinking that somebody, you know, you forgot your curling iron or whatever it may be, right? So those are the events and the trigger associated. So you have a fear reaction, which is learned, or you have an emotional reaction, which is automatic. So here's one way you can curb the effects of general anxiety by using neuroscience. With the cerebral cortex, you can distract yourself. When you start feeling that panic attack, start counting to see how many orange things you can see in front of you. Now, start counting how many blue shirts you see. Try to distract your mind, because while you're thinking about that, your cerebral cortex is going, you want me to do which one? You want me to panic, or you want me to think about the blue shirts over here? So it distracts you, okay? It's only a feeling, an intense feeling you can control. Only you can control that easily, right? Okay, so don't be concerned about what others think, right? Because automatically we start thinking, oh my God, what is that person thinking about me while I'm having this panic attack? Try to just kind of breathe, right? That's where amygdala comes in. You breathe. Everybody, I want you all to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Do it again. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Okay, good job. All right. And don't you feel that relaxed, like, right? That's what we need to do. And the best thing to do when you're having a panic attack is walk. Pace. Walk back and forth, look for the blue shirts, and try not to think about the panic attack, okay? All right. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you all.
I'd like to hand out some appreciation certificates to the students who participated. Junior Brown. Oops. This is to express our appreciation for you contributing to this program. Okay. I think it's that one too. Okay. Thank you, Junior. Okay, you're welcome. Okay. And of course, this person did not show up. Let's see here. Are there others that we should have up here? I'm wondering. Let me look. This one over there. We'll get the other one to you, Shannon. Okay. Right, there we go. Is that one from Shannon? Oh, this one right. Okay. You got Junior, you take them both? Okay. No, Shannon, come both, please. Okay, this is in recognition of your participation in the Mental Health Symposium. We appreciate your participation. Okay. All right. And Ms. Morales, I guess you'll have to wait until a little later on. Okay. Okay. All righty. That concludes our program tonight. Are there any questions or comments that anyone would like to make at this point in time? No? Well, good program. Well, thank you. Thank you. Once again, I'd like to express our sincere appreciation to all of you who came and participated and made the program informational and a very valuable program. We hope that next time we can have more people involved. But we know there's a stigma associated with mental illness and mental health, so that kind of turns a lot of people off. But we all have to work hard to try to erase that negative stigma, so that we can get people into treatment sooner, and the prognosis will certainly be better at that point in time. So once again, thank you, and we appreciate you for being here.